Okay, you lovely lot. So, a quick winter tips one for you. I've got it on, Jay. We've got the Vulcan base layer on. It's so good. On days like this where it has been warm, but it's like proper freezing cold today. Yeah. It's amazing. The button's been pressed, folks. Don't you worry about that.
You're already toasted up.
It's so good. Nips have gone and everything.
No, it is.
I've normally got big pointy ones, but they've gone and everything. It's so nice and warm under here.
They're going tippy. It is. It's something we've talked about for a year or so now, isn't it? 2 years.
Definitely.
Heated clothing. It sounds tarty, but it's the best thing in the world, isn't it? It's just, for me, what it's about, it's the same as the brolly thing. You're
liking a brolly, aren't you?
Yeah, but whatever it takes, I mean, the heated clothing, your brollies, it's for comfort in the winter. Yeah, when it comes to our fishing, I believe that the angler that is the most comfortable, warm, thinks better.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? I was talking to Steve about this the other day. When you get them horrible days when it's freezing and rain and wet and you're uncomfortable, you go into your little fetal position, don't you? And you just sit and you stop trying.
So it makes you not want to sort of like fish, in effect, doesn't it? You start thinking about like fires and pubs and things like that and getting home for your Sunday lunch and all that. But having something like this on, folks, it just takes all that away.
Of course it does.
And then obviously putting layers on over the top, and it actually keeps you insulated, keeps you warm, keeps your core warm, obviously.
It's like you've done a wee. You turn the button on, it's like you've done a wee. But no, it is lovely, isn't it? You save it for like the first hour and then you press the button and it is lovely. But no, talking about it though, going down the technical bits of it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different in that the button's not on the sleeve. The button's actually down here, so it's completely away from you, so it's not getting in the way or anything like that.
Easy to press when you're fishing, isn't it? It's always so dead easy. Fiddly. Instead, I want it there and I can just press a button and it's on and it's going, isn't it? And as well, I think the main point is you've got no wires.
No wires, not whatsoever. As you can see wires, this is because I'm wired up so I can talk to you lovely lot. The battery pack as well, really easy to change. I'll get this out for you. It charges in like an hour or something like that. So you really charge it up from like flat to full within an hour. Literally just pull that out there, put another one in, and you're good to go. We can get bigger batteries for it for obviously a longer life. But on this setting, I've got it on the highest setting at the moment. I've got it on the red setting. It's lasting what, 2.5, 3 hours or something like that.
Do you? On the highest
like
setting,
4 and 5 hours. So we got, I think it's 3.5, 4 on the medium, and then 5 on the lower setting. And it's amazing.
It's going to last you a match, isn't it? It's going to keep you fishing and concentrating for the whole day, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So important. Like I say, it's been proper stuff as well. It was, I saw on the tin today, it's for like Arctic explorers and all sorts.
Yeah.
So if us little girls could handle it on the back.
Actual Olympic athletes as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For proper,
it's designed
cold
proper.
stuff.
UK-based company as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
So we can get
UK-based company. And we're giving you a lovely lot 10% off with a code which Rich is expertly going to put on screen, aren't you, mate? In the description below, which is Winning Ways 10.
Yes, Winning Ways 10.
Off for you,
my eyes can't see that.
Honestly, I can't fish without these in the winter this time of year. They're just unbelievable.
No,
so
I'll tell you what, for me as well, even without a battery, I like it.
It is actually warm.
It's like a cosy thing, isn't it? I wore it the other day for a walk.
Because it like hugs and everything and like just like grips you and
it's like having your thermals on, isn't it? Even before you press the button, you've got that option.
Yes.
It's cosy and I like that.
It's good when
it's like a hug.
It's good when you press the button, though, Jay. It's amazing.
It is massively worth it. If you haven't already, try and heated clothing now. It's a game changer without a doubt. It makes you far more comfortable and just makes the day more pleasant, doesn't it?
I hope that's. I think that might be a cormorant con, folks. We do apologise. But yeah, check Vulcan Sportswear out, folks. Honestly, you will not be disappointed. Amazing.
Like winter tip number 2, Andrew.
Are we going down the maggot route?
We're going to go down the bait for winter, yeah. Which may seem...
It's maggots, mate. There's nothing better than maggots. You can do your pellets, you know what I mean?
I'd agree with that.
Would you actually? Yeah, but how are you with your, like, because obviously your micros and your little baby expanders and all that.
Yes.
You'd still use them, wouldn't you?
Yeah. The first thing with bait for me in the winter, it is... We won't talk about feeding, we're just going to talk about options of bait.
Yeah.
And the first thing of me would be scaling everything down smaller. Everything's littler, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? The first things.
I mean, you can still get away with fairly big hooks as long as I find wire.
Yeah.
Like you used to be massive for your gamma greens, didn't you?
Yes.
I love my gamma blacks, and you can still get away with using them in like a 16s because they're so fine.
But you want little baits, don't you? That fish are more likely to eat more of smaller baits.
And I suppose somewhere like this, we're at the fabulous Cudmore Fishery, Jumble Lake. It lends itself perfectly for that, Jay, in that you can target the skimmers on like micros and your little expanders, But then you've got loads of silvers and you can target for maggots. And
Yes.
it's them kind of fish this time of year you cannot miss out on, folks.
No,
innit?
no, you've got to use baits that are less selective.
Yeah,
Isn't
definitely.
it? Stick with your natural baits are your favourites, your maggots, casters. Not so much worms. Worms don't seem to have a big play.
I get. Well, you probably get the question asked a lot. Do you use worms on commercials in winter? And the honest question is, no, I
I don't
don't.
even use them in summer.
To be fair, mate, I don't think
anymore,
I've used
yeah.
them for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Feel sorry for them. Let them go.
It is. They're a tricky bait to feed. I was saying that weird. I know a few venues where worms are good, but anyway, for me, maggots and casters are the more so maggots, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And non-selective, catch everything. And the way out you've got to look at it with baits, it's like the way we eat. Yeah, with a maggot, it's like eating soup. We talked about that lots, isn't it?
Not filling them up at all, is it?
No, you want baits that they can eat, they can process, digest, whatever you want to call it. Kingfish again, as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And that's why your pellets need to be softened always. So that's one thing with pellets that I never feel a hard pellets right in the winter.
No, definitely not.
Because they might eat one of them or a couple, but
And then
they can't
they'll go
keep
off
on
to
eating.
soak and digest it. won't
Yeah,
they?
because they're full.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's having a steak, isn't it? And you're really full when you don't really want to eat because they're not
definitely.
using any energy. So hard pellets for me go out the window.
Yeah. Corn and bread will come into it as
situations.
well, Jay, won't it? Corn and bread. But as an all-round bait.
Definitely, yeah. But corn and bread aren't baits that I'd ever feed in the winter. They're a hook bait only, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Feeding baits always need to be thought about. Your ground bait, your pellets. It's anything you introduce has to have maximum attraction but minimum food.
Where are you sitting with ground bait as well this time of year?
It depends on species, but I think again with ground bait, kick it off, but I don't want to feed much.
Think they get too preoccupied on it?
I think they get full up of it. It's just another thing that they can eat that stops them eating my bait. I mean,
I don't know. I always used to think I'd never put ground bait in on commercials in the winter, but the last sort of 3-4 years, I've changed my perception of it.
when tabs and silvers.
Yeah. Well, not so much carp. I won't use them for carp, but silvers wise, 100%. Because obviously I'm not putting any bait in the ground bait. I'm just having my hook bait there as a standout bait. And I think for, as you say, kick-starting the swim, it's massive.
Yeah.
I think it
So
just
maybe
draws
use the
fishing.
ground bait as an attractor, but with minimal food.
Yes.
And then just loose feed over the top.
Definitely, and that'd be on a separate swim to where I'd be maybe loose feeding, out of my hand to target fish through the water, the likes of hide and roach and chub and things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm liking that. That's a sensible way of, like, your ground bait's not a food concept, no, it's an attractor.
Just an attractor.
And then
But it gets him,
yours
gets him in
stands
there
out.
and,
Yeah, that's a brilliant way, isn't it? Instead of loose feeding just maggots or loose feeding pellets that are going to fill the fish up, then definitely, yeah, if the fish are willing to, like say carp and F1s, I don't think they eat ground bait in the winter. Or one mouthful.
No.
They're not going to sit and feed over a pile, are they? They're not grazers, are they?
No.
It's using the right bait for the right fish. If they graze like skimmers do, or roach or whatever else.
And it's that element as well, Jay, that the silvers don't really get a look in through the summer, do they? Obviously when the carp and the F1s are feeding. That's why this time of year there's so many silvers matches around, because, they're a lot
They're
easier to
dependable
target.
as well, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, get some bites. That's going to be a tip in a minute that we go on, that
Love
sort of thing.
silvers.
But yeah, thinking about your bait, getting away from your hard pellets, your meat. They're all right for single hook baits, aren't they?
Yeah.
When it comes to
Just
legend and
chucking
for
like a
carp,
bomb and bread or bomb and meat, bomb and corn out, something like that.
yeah, then the rules go out the window because it's a single offering. But whenever you're feeding, thinking of a bait that's going to break down very, very quickly when it's inside the fish,
Yeah.
it's a massive thing and definitely leads you to your peg lasts longer.
What
And
about
they'll eat more of it.
colours as well? So
Ooh,
it's
that's a
weird.
weird
In
one.
the summer, I can't not take white maggots with me, and I'll just have a sprinkle in the reds. This time of year, I've got to have
Just
more
take
reds,
reds.
hardly any whites. I'll probably mix it up though. I'll have some discos in there.
Yeah.
And I've got some yellows today. I've not seen yellow maggots. I've not used them for years. I can't wait to try them. But it's like the same on a river, bronze maggots. It's weird what you get used to, isn't it? Are
Yeah.
you similar in like you use whites in the summer, or is it just one of them?
I do, but I don't know why.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know why you think they work better or they work better. It's just one of them. It's
Yeah.
just what you get used to, I suppose.
Whether it's in our red, and we've had this conversation a bit, haven't we? It's
Yeah.
whatever gives you confidence, great. I think a maggot's a maggot. But
I
maybe
want to rock
not.
up with a load of them blue maggots that they used to do. The blue and
Just
green
fish
ones.
blue ones. We'll have a blue maggot challenge next. Just blue ones. But yeah, colours more so for standing out baits are so much more
Definitely.
important in the winter.
Yeah,
The last underwater thing that I did, it showed how important standout baits can be.
Really?
For either standing out among your bait, which isn't really a thing in the winter, but in the winter it's just grabbing their attention. Yeah, them
So if
fish are
something
just...
falls through them, they're like...
Whether it falls through, stands out on the boat, whatever it does, it's the fish don't want to feed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you really not being in the mood to eat, but having a table of 100 different things, and all of a sudden you look at one and think, I just have a bit of that. That's what it could be like for a fish.
I want to try all 100 things,
Yeah, you know
Jay. A little bit of everything. A little bit of everything does you good, don't you know?
Yeah, but that it is standout visibility, maybe even getting your flavours involved as well.
Yeah.
Attraction is everything, isn't it? Whether it's visibility or scent. And it's just making sure that they don't fill a fish up. Anything that fills them up, for me, is a no-no.
Yeah, definitely. And you can afford to put quite a bit of bait in. You know, even like the coldest of cold days, you quite often get through 2 or 3 pints of bait.
Yeah,
when
with
they're
the right
it.
bait. Yes.
Because as you say, they're not filling them up.
No.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
It's just attracting fishing all the time as well.
Yes, so
Love
good
it.
for
Love
our
maggots.
wintry
Just fish
bait
maggot,
here.
folks. Just forget everything else and fish maggots, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's pretty much the way to go, isn't it? Don't fill them up, but use baits you can feed them with still.
Tip 3 then, folks, and silverfish fishing for me is something I do all year round, but even more so, Jay, now, this time of year, you've got to have it in your armoury, haven't you?
Yeah.
Got
Not
to
so
have a
much
swim.
just focusing on silverfish fishing, is it? It's
Yeah, silverfish fishing.
No, you know what I mean?
To be
It's
fair,
not just silverfish matches. It's within any match that you fish,
you need to have a swim.
having a silver, as long as the venue's right, as long as they're present.
So I mean, you'll do the same as well. I do a lot of a selective swim with the likes of pellets and then non-selective swim with the likes of maggots or casters.
Yeah.
I'll always do that pretty much every single match I go in. But now, more so, it's all about, for me, priming that silver swim, because that's where I feel I'm going to catch most of my fish. It might be like the first part of the match, I might spend like dobbing for cat. Have you seen him? He's like, no, you're wrong,
No,
Andrew.
I'm not. I'm
It's
I'm
one of them.
smiling because I
And then-
like it.
And
I
then
like
maybe
it.
like the last part, like the last half an hour, you might go back. But then the last part of the match, that's when the silver's going to be having it proper and everything. And like, you're just confusing myself. And can it be all out because I'm catching loads of fish?
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's having a line, isn't it? That's the main tip. It's having a line that you can still be aggressive with.
Yeah.
With the view of catching everything. Yeah. Even at most situations, I mean, you're not going to go to Boddington's and feed a flipping roach line.
No.
But most sensible matches where you're fishing for everything, they're always having a line that you can, like I say, be aggressive with or ish.
Yeah.
You can feed some bait. You make something happen by feeding maggots or casters. Yeah. Even if you need £80 to win that match of carp, it's still worth having that.
It's
negative
ticking it
line,
over,
isn't
isn't it? I mean, you can have that first sort of part of the match where, you might go in and catch a few F1s in carp, but then it suddenly go dead. So it's time to, like, rest them.
Yes.
But it's making sure you're putting something in your net all
Your
the
time
time.
filler, isn't it?
And yeah, as match anglers, that's what we focus on a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
We need to be putting the fish in the net.
It's it. And for in the winter time as well, if it does end up being a bad match and the carp don't have a feed, your silvers line or your loose fed line is always your most dependable, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the one that's something at some point of the day,
Something's going to happen.
something happens, doesn't it?
Definitely.
'Cause it's
100%.
crazy for me that it took me a long, long time to get into my head that even when it's rock bottom,
Yeah.
it's not about that tiny pile on the bottom, it's about attraction.
Yeah.
And even on the worst days, having bait going through the water is more important than tiny amounts. In most of the time, isn't it?
I think it's that, and it's when, say it's like 3 hours, 4 hours has gone by, you've not had a bite, then all of a sudden you're like, I'm talking about track fishing, for example, on a Snake Lake. You go on it, then all of a sudden there's a few fish there. I think it's the fact that you've been putting bait in pretty regular throughout the day, and obviously that bait's gone on the bottom, it's settling in the silt and what have you, this, that and the other, and then you get an arrival, whereas anglers that haven't been putting it in, they might just come in, graze and then go off. But because you have been putting that bait in, the fish will tend to stick with you.
Stay a bit
I think
more.
that's massive. I've relied on that heavily a lot over the years.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's not worked out in a favour, especially when it's more F1 venues, Jay. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
where
When
you've
they've
not
turned
got
up.
the silvers to start with.
Yeah. Because obviously, if you've got the silvers, like a gudgeon and little perch coming in, they're going to mop everything up as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I like to keep that bait going in.
I don't think the actual accumulation on the bottom is as
Oh,
important.
what? I know.
build up. The build-up bait on the bottom,
That's it, mate.
I think it going through is more important. The regularity of the visibility. They see that before they see what's on the deck.
Yeah.
Because the fish are never on the bottom. They don't live there. They
No,
live
no.
who knows where.
Yeah.
I think that's what grabs attention more.
And then when they do go down, there's bait there. and
Yeah,
obviously,
do you know what I mean? If you've got
colours
that
going.
constant stream of fish swimming through at random intervals, if you're feeding every 10 minutes, who knows, then you grab the attention of them.
Yeah.
And they do go down and slowly a few stay, and then that builds and builds and builds till there's a mountain there. It's definitely a big thing for me, that, because with maggots as well, when you're feeding them in a depth, there's a hell of a long time between them hitting the water and hitting the bottom for the fish to actually see them.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
It's 30 seconds, isn't it? In 6 foot,
Yeah,
nearly
definitely.
30 seconds for them fish to
Yeah.
to see them going down.
Like that all the way down.
Yeah.
And
So, but I
then
don't know what
follow it
happens to
down.
them on the bottom. I'd
In
like
what
to
way?
see that.
You don't think they're going to silt and that?
Who knows? Don't know. I'd like to know.
I'll start crawling back towards you. I want to go back to where I come from.
Yeah. Don't know. Don't know what they do.
Other thing. So how are you with like? So I've got it set. What I do, folks, on waters like this, open water. My long swim's going to be my selective swim where I might put ground bait in or some micros or something. And then my short swim, I'll always loose feed it for silvers this time of year in open water.
Yeah, ideally
Snake
by hand.
lakes, even if the silvers in there on a snake lake, I can't loose feed it. I've got to cup it in.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's weird, but wherever I go, I don't care what's in there.
Well,
It's just what I've
You'd
always
always want a
done.
cup.
I always want a cup on snake lakes, tap it in, you know, from sort of like a big height and that, get it over a bit of an area. But on open waters like this, I'll always loose feed.
loose feed.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
You're not like that.
Not with the cup.
You're not stuck in your ways like me, AJ.
No. No, it
You're a
depends
bit
on the
more
species.
adaptable, aren't you?
Yes. I
Would
like
have to be,
feeding.
wouldn't it?
I don't like feeding, but I hate feeding by a cup. I hate
Do
just
you?
doing that. I like being able to do because with a cup
Is
you
that
can
because it
only
all
feed.
falls out when you're shipping out? Go on, tell me it does. Tell me it does,
My
Jay.
cups are beautiful. You don't do that. But no, you can't feed again. That's the problem with a cup. I mean, once you've fed, you've got to come back to feed again. Whereas if you can catty or
Yes.
throw by hand, I always want to have the option of catty or throwing by hand. But it depends on venue. Like, that's a whole nother subject to touch
It
on.
does, but I mean, obviously the venues that we're fishing, it's got similar stocks of fishing all the time, haven't they? You know what I mean? What you're fishing for, it's either F1s, carp, eyed, skimmers,
Yeah.
potentially, odd roach.
Yeah, you want to make something happen. Even on the worst days, like I say, you want bait going through. So it shows that, you know what opens their eyes to me for making things happen? It's silvers matches. We've had this conversation, I think, before. When you feed that short line, you throw casters at it, maggots at it all day.
Yeah.
If you're fishing for carp, if it wasn't a silvers match,
Yeah.
you would never, ever,
Wouldn't
ever
think
feed
of it.
like that.
Be like tapping a few pellets
And
in,
sit,
like,
wouldn't you?
just sitting or green a corn or something. Yeah.
But you're more carp fishing for silvers,
You do.
which I think you've got to have the bait going through. You know what I mean? And they don't mind, because it is the type of baits we're using in
Yeah,
maggots,
it's not going to fill them up.
they definitely disappear. I don't know what they do, whether they wriggle away, whether they wriggle down, whether they just all get eaten because there's that many fish.
Swimming through the water
Yeah.
as you're putting them
Well,
in.
I think they hide. I think, do you know what I mean, at this time of year as well, when you've got a lot of
Yeah.
crap on the bottom, a lot of leaves,
Yeah.
I think
They
they all
hide
just
under
get
that.
underneath them.
And obviously fish are going to come into them, as you say, off the bottom, smash into them and blow them over a bit of an area as well.
That's
aren't
if they do. I don't think they do as much in the winter.
they? Do you not? You don't think they're active? You wait to see these today.
Well, this is the extreme. This is a lot, isn't it? I think they're a lot more delicate in the winter picking up. I don't think they root because you don't get any bubbles in the winter.
No, that's true. Yeah.
I think they literally, what they can see,
follow your-
if a
follow your
bait's
bait
disappeared, it goes, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
doesn't get
yeah.
eaten.
Yeah.
But who knows? So yeah, that's definitely, what was that, tip number 3?
Work rate,
on.
just before we come off it, work rate as well, Jay. I'm massive for lifting and dropping as well, all the time, but especially this time of year. And I think that plays into like what
Being-
you're saying, the fish will follow it back down.
Yeah, busy. When it comes to silvers, that's my only lifting and dropping time. It's active, innit? Everything's about activity, being busy, not being lazy, and just sitting there with
Yeah. It's-
your little
Kingfisher!
pile. Kingfisher again.
It
Is it
swims
that
on
way?
the go, innit?
Yes.
Definitely swims on the go.
Always a busy option that hopefully leads you to being more productive, isn't it? Liking that one. So the last wintry tippy we want to go. We're going to go a bit weird, not so much specific tippy.
We're never weird, Jamie. How dare you?
We're only ever flipping weird. It's sort of what makes you make decisions, like the elements, the conditions on the day, how important it is to take them in consideration, whether it's the weather, the wind, whatever else.
Yeah, definitely.
During the winter. For me, it's more important in the winter than the summer.
Yeah,
I mean-
100%. I think you have it set in your head where you want to get in the summer. You know you want to be in shallow water, say potentially on snake lakes, and then just fish shallow in open water.
Yeah, sort of, but like it doesn't seem to affect what you do. It's very rare in the summer that the conditions make it not possible to do whatever you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Whereas the winter, you know what I mean, that the wind, the rain,
If you want to do something,
how
then
cold
the
it is.
conditions won't allow it. It is pointless doing it. You're
Exactly
not
that.
gonna catch.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to remain a lot more flexible.
Yeah.
And that's what dictates your approach in the winter a lot more for me. And the areas of the peg that you target become more important. You need to look at the conditions a lot more. We spoke about like pressure and things first, haven't we?
Yeah.
That I think the influence that pressure has on the fish is bigger in the winter than the summer.
Yeah.
In the summer
100%.
they're eating, so they go wherever
Yeah.
the bait is
Yeah,
within
yeah.
reason. In the winter, very, very much the pressure dictates whether they feed fiercely. Yeah, they're much more inclined to feed when it's low pressure, and what depth they're going to be in. And that'll dictate to when I draw my peg, where my main targets are going to be, aren't they?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it's
yeah.
high pressure, I'm going to want to fish in
Yeah.
shallower water, low pressure. I wouldn't say I want to be in deeper water, but it tends to be more anything goes in low pressure. They could be anywhere. Whereas in high pressure, it's always going to be on plateaus against islands, whatever else is more important, isn't it? And then the methods I choose in the winter, innit? Rich has just touched on it then.
I suppose, yeah, before you come on to it, I suppose, well, we can come on to it. I suppose it's a westerly wind today, folks, and it's perfect. So it's not too cold going on that island. But if it was an easterly wind blowing that island and it was like 3 foot, you wouldn't necessarily want to touch it, would you?
No.
But obviously, an island like that, yeah, you're thinking fishy, but it's not always the best thing, is it, this time of year?
With the wrong thing blowing at it.
Definitely.
That's what you always have to think of, is that what that water does.
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
a cold one, it hits the bank and it turns
And it's
under, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then it makes it cold, but if it's nice and warm,
Yeah.
then they're all getting in it, aren't
Definitely.
they? Yeah, massive. Things like that.
It's huge, mate.
Yeah.
And obviously, waggler. Wind's on your back, folks. Waggler fishing today, you know, something it's absolutely lends itself to it. But obviously, you'd be able to get ultimate precision with a pole as well. And you'd probably catch quicker on the pole.
There's probably more important in it in the winter is that, again, we just talked about this with Rich, whereas normally I'd say you need to do whatever the fish want you to do. You can't rock up with a preconceived idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in the winter, even more so, you have to sit on your peg and look at what you can do because of the weather, what's going to be best to do because of the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in what areas you need to target and what method's going to be right. But it's no good thinking, it's blowing a hoolie, I've got to fish a feeder.
Yeah.
Because in the winter, fish are feeding so less, or they're so I don't know what I went with then.
Cautious, Rich has come up with it then, folks. Go on, that's why we have him.
Yeah, and there's such a smaller percentage of fish feeding on an area.
Yeah.
If you throw a feeder over it, you're much less likely to catch, just because of the area that you're feeding in, than you are if you throw a pole over it.
Yeah.
So even if it's...
And you can be much more precise, obviously, with a pole.
Exactly that. Although it may be hard in the winter, it outweighs the chance of catching fish on a rod potentially because you're so accurate. So even if it's a bit messy, you are struggling, it's worthwhile doing in the winter, isn't it? So within reason.
Yeah,
if it's a mess and it's going to break your pole, then put it away, throw a feeder.
Not worth it.
But it's worth, in the summer when a lot of fish feeding, you can get away with doing things not as well as you could do. Whereas in the winter, it's worth taking a risk, isn't it?
100%, yeah. That presentation is everything in fishing, and even more so in the winter. It's got to be bang on. If it doesn't look right, you aren't going to get a bite here.
No, I think it's accuracy, mate, is a huge thing. It needs to be tighter in the winter. So
you don't think I could get away with like chucking it over a football field and all that then, Jay? No, you've got to be like chucking it in a mug.
It has, isn't it? It has got to
But
be,
it's right,
because you've got that fewer fish feeding, the more accurate you can keep things. And as well, I'll tell you what we're talking about, fishing shorter as well. When it comes to not so much pole fishing, whether it's your waggler and feeder fishing in the winter, although you do want to get as far as you can on many, many occasions, by doing things more accurately shorter.
It's where you can group that bait better and everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
definitely.
it is. Don't ever stretch things to your maximum because it just makes fish harder to catch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There may be a few more out there.
Yeah.
But if you're chucking it over a flipping dining room,
how often, like when you're like really putting that catapult into max and like your bait's going everywhere, it's no good. You're going to get odd fish.
Yeah.
But if you can just, restrain yourself from that and get it in a tighter area, miles better.
it does, doesn't it? Yeah, bringing things. Accuracy is the one that outweighs everything for me during the winter. So worth paying a little bit of attention to. So that's pretty much for wintry way. So without getting too technical, obviously there's lots of kit and all sorts of things that we could talk about. We've done a lot of that sort of thing before. The wintry kit, scaling things down.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully those 4 little things just make a little bit of difference during the winter, don't they?
Definitely.
So the main thing we want to say is don't go fishing, just go pub or go river instead. But
yes,
if you
be
are
nice and
fishing
active and warm on a river.
Yes, nice and busy. But yeah,
And we can't even go to the pub yet, Jamie. What are you on about? Can't even go.
There's going to be no pubs this winter.
No. But hopefully, as you say, Jamie says, them tips, get yourselves out fishing, and you'll love it. It's brilliant this time of year, isn't it?
Yes.
With them baits, we said, maggots, you're going to get bites. Simple as that.
Yeah, bit more thought. Job done.